Hi there, folks, and welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. We got a lot of things I'm going to do this weekend. I'm not going to do them all in this video. I've got my little whiteboard list over here of everything I need to accomplish this weekend. So we're going to jump right in and get after it. First thing on the list I've got up there is a generator fix. Let's take a quick look at this generator. I bought a Generac GP 5500. So it's a 5500 watt generator. I bought it used, paid 150 bucks for it. Guy said it didn't run, couldn't get it running. That's where I step in and pay the 150 and pay a little more and get this thing running so I can have a backup generator here on the property. And I'll show you how we're gonna go through it and go through the steps to see what I can do to figure out what's wrong with it. Hopefully get it running. We're gonna test some of the voltage outputs on it and go from there. Let's take a quick look at what we've got here. All right, well, let's look at a few of the specifications on this piece of thing. Looks like circuit breaker protected outlets, 130 amp, 120 volt, and a 240 volt twist lock, two 20 amp, 120 volt duplex outlets, which it has on this other side over here. I'll flip it around eventually and show you that stuff with a couple of thermal breakers on it. You know, it's the first thing I did notice though, and I'll get you in here a little tighter in a second, is the guy said it wouldn't run. And it is a single cylinder engine, overhead valve engine. And he said he used it quite a bit when he was camping. Got a lot of use out of it that way. But I noticed right away the spark plug, there's no spark plug cap on the spark plug itself. So the wire's just hanging out here doing nothing. Well, that would be a pretty good reason why it wouldn't start. And maybe he couldn't get it started and went to pull the spark plug cap off and broke it. Because that could happen. So we're gonna dig in here and see. It looks to me like I should be able to put a new cap right on this wire. Get me one and get this thing up and running. But first we're gonna check, see if we got any spark. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that just yet. Well, it does have oil, which is a good thing, but I just looked at it on the dipstick and it is as thick and black as road tar. Let's just go ahead and pull that spark plug out. Well, the spark plug's a little black, but otherwise it's there. BPR7ES. That's an NGK plug. So we'll see if we can get another one of those. Might as well start off fresh. I was kind of concerned when I was pulling on this. It just didn't feel like there's a lot of compression there. So let's throw a compression test on it. Well, some of me doubts that the compression's there. Maybe it has a compression release for easy starting on this particular model. I don't know. Set it 0 right now. Well, it's got no compression. Well, that's a bit of a problem. Maybe he sold me a pig and a poke there, and I got a blown motor. I think before we spend a lot of money on this thing, I'm going to go ahead and I'll pull this gas tank off of here to allow me better access to the motor in general. Not that I need a lot of access to everything there. Maybe I don't. But I do want to pull this valve cover off. Let's go ahead and pull that off. I'm going to see if things are moving like they're supposed to be moving. Well, under the valve cover looks pretty clean. Let's roll it over here, see what happens. Well, now I'm hearing some noise. I question whether the valves are in adjustment properly. I'm gonna bring you in here and show you what I'm looking at. See what's going on here. Now what I'm seeing here is a lot of black around the exhaust valve. And it's kind of like, there's no valve lash here. By golly, I think there should be. This one, the intake valve, I can get a little free play on that. This one I have absolutely nothing. I think I'm getting a lot of blow by. I think the exhaust valve's out of adjustment. Okay, what I did here, now I don't have these valves properly adjusted at all, but I was getting zero compression before. And now I've played around with just backing these off a little bit because I think the valves are being held open. And now I'm able to get, I'm at 60. That's not great at all, but that's better than zero right now. These aren't properly adjusted. I'm gonna do some research, see what I gotta do to properly adjust these, the valve lash on here. And once the valve clearance is adjusted properly, we'll go back to checking compression again and see where we can go from there. Alrighty, now that we got the valves adjusted, I did check the compression and I'm still only getting 30 pounds of compression. But I also don't know if this has a compression release governor type setup on it. So you can pull start this almost 400cc engine. So I'm gonna go with the fact that I'm gonna pretend it's got a compression release and that's why the compression's low, and we'll just go from there. And I'm gonna put this valve cover back on, tighten the bolts down, and then we're gonna take a look at we're gonna drain the carburetor and see what that looks like inside. I did go ahead and drain the gas tank. It is now empty of all the old varnished gasoline, and we'll put some fresh stuff in when we go to start. Now I want to sneak right in here and see if I can drain this bowl just to get any kind of crappy gas that was left in it out. That gas doesn't look nearly as bad, but it's kind of looks a little bit like deck stain. Ooh, smells terrible. Yeah, that's some really bad gas. Man, that bad gas smells, well, you guessed it, bad. Now what I want to do, this fuel line seems to actually be in pretty good shape. It's still pretty soft and supple, so I'm not going to worry about trying to replace it. Here again, I'm trying to get this thing running for as little money as possible, just to see if I've got anything worth, adding any more money to. I've got myself a new fuel filter here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one off, if it'll let me. Alrighty, we got the new fuel filter in place. Now I did pull this crappy old busted up screen out of here because it wasn't doing much of anything because it's more holes than screen. And I'll just make sure, I'll see if I can find me another one to stick in there, because it is kind of nice to help keep trash out of your gas tank. Helps your little fuel filter not get so clogged up. But I did look inside here, and this gas tank is really, really clean. This is a metal tank in here, but it's no rust, which that's a big win right there. I'm going to go ahead and dump a few gallons of gas back in it now. While I'm way up high in the air here. Ooh, not as convenient, see? Now, if you guys haven't seen my video on how to install one of these vents on a gas tank and get rid of your ventless type filler, look through my channel, you'll find it. Highly recommend doing that because this is easier and it doesn't make any mess and you don't have to deal with some spring-loaded piece of crap on a nozzle. I'm only going to dump a couple gallons in here. Now you guys might be asking, why didn't you clean this thing up before you started working on it? Well, because I didn't want to put any more time or effort into it than was needed before I realize it's junk. It may still be junk for all I know. Alrighty, now that we've got some fuel dumped in, the fuel petcock shutoff seems to still work okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to on, and I've got the new filter in. I want to see if it runs on through. Yep. That's good. It lets the gas go through the bowl and fill it up. And if I look down the throat of the carburetor, once I put this plug in, I'll be able to see if the needle seat is holding the gas from overflowing and whatnot, to make sure it's working properly. Make sure the needle seat is actually shutting the fuel off. All right, that's on there. Well, that looks pretty good. We'll say that's had plenty of time to fill that bowl up. I'm going to go ahead and shut the fuel back off. Let's get to changing the oil now. Well, now since this engine's not warm, means this oil is going to drain really, really slow. And I'm hoping it'll actually just gravity feed right down, right here, into my bucket, so I don't make a big giant mess. Let's just see how that goes. Well, that's some black, dark oil. Holy smokes, it's nasty. I mean, that stuff is thick and nasty, and I question whether it's ever been changed. It may have never been changed. Who knows? Maybe that's what this thing could be, completely junk. We'll let that sit there and drain because that's going to take a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys can see this very well, but it filled it up to about the blue line on this 1 gallon container. That's quite a bit of oil. Anyway, there again, that oil is black as coal. Let's go ahead and stick this back in and let's top it off with some fresh oil. I'm waiting on a package to show up today. I ordered it yesterday, believe it or not, and it's showing up today from the Slamazon. And what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description for all the products and items I used in this video so far, whether this thing runs or not. I'm putting a video out there. It may be total toast, but we're going to go ahead and put some fresh oil back in there. And I know for a fact that it'll take a quart, possibly even 2, pretty easily. These weren't full containers when I started, so. Whoa. I'm getting a little sloppy. Now me, I'm just dumping in some of this Napa straight 30 weight oil. They're probably supposed to be using something else, but this is what she's getting. I'll guarantee it's better than what was in there. Well, that tops her off with fresh oil, and while I was filling it up with oil, I gotta show you guys this. This may be a lost cause, I don't know. You tell me. Now, I just noticed this has an hour meter on it. I was thinking about putting an hour meter on it, but wow, 3,561 hours. Is that possible? Now, according to the sticker I can see on here, I believe this is a 2017. So that would only be 4 years old, maybe 5 years old, depending on where it's made, when it's made. But my goodness, that's a lot of hours. So I think this thing for that many hours doesn't look that bad. And I did do some research. I found out that these things, I believe, do have a compression release type governor on them. So the good news is that low compression I'm experiencing right now may be because of the governor and how it operates until she gets up to an RPM, goes into run mode, and then the compression goes up to where it needs to create power. We'll find that out. Right now, everything's ready to go in order to turn this thing into a runner as soon as I get my spark plug boot. As soon as I get my spark plug boot, I'm going to check for spark. I got a new spark plug. If that checks all good, we'll set it on the floor. We'll give her a couple pulls, see if she fires off. But I tell you what, if this thing truly has this 3,500, yeah, 3,561.5 hours. If that's truly what this has on it, man, I wouldn't be afraid to buy one of these. I mean, 3,000 hours? I mean, think about that. 3,500, 3,000 hours. You know, if it was a working machine that ran 8 hours a day for a year, that's only 2,080. So this thing has ran a lot. Now, the guy I bought it from says when he went camping with it, and he hadn't been camping apparently in a couple years, got rid of his motorhome and whatnot. And he says his actual words was, we ran the shit out of it. Well, if he bought this new, he wasn't lying to me. He wasn't lying to me one bit. Anyway, I think I'm ready to set this thing back on the floor. And we're going to wait for my part to show up. And we'll start the video back up again and see if I got spark. If I do, we'll see if she runs. And we'll put the air cleaner and all that fun jazz back on it and get busy with it. See you in a bit. All right, folks. Good news, good news, good news. I got the spark plug adapter kit, or new end for the spark plug wire. Fits right onto my spark plug, screws right, it basically screws on the end of the wire. But anyway, installed that, no big deal. And we got spark. That's the great news, we got spark. That was the biggest, mainest thing we had to have, right? Now, we need to put the air box back on because the air box holds the carburetor in place on this joker. Otherwise, I'd try to run it without the air box, but I can't. So we're gonna go ahead and put it back on, and I'm gonna set it on the floor and see if I can start it. I'm not gonna put the air cleaner back on it just yet. I just wanna have a look-see down the throat of it if I need to. Now the big question, will she run? We've got it on the on position. We're gonna choke it. We'll turn the gas on. Guess I'll give it a yank. Ourselves a runner, boys. Well, there you have it, folks. We got ourselves a runner. Now, don't mind the special effects in here. She did smoke when I fired her up, but I did spray some stuff down the cylinder because there again, it hadn't been ran for a couple of years, according to the guy. I didn't want to start it up with the cylinder being dry. But once it looks like it burned off all that, she runs good. Runs real good. I put the voltmeter on the 120 outlets. I'm getting 125 volts on both 120 outlets. So everything's adjusted RPM wise and output wise to do exactly what it's supposed to do. You gotta like that. So 150 bucks and she runs. Now I'll spend some money on it. I might buy another rubber foot for the front and maybe a new air cleaner box because this one looks a little melty, and then a new strainer for the gas tank. I might rub on her a little bit with some degreaser and some cleaner, purdy it up a little bit. But other than that, I got to get out of here before I die. My goodness. The fog has rolled in. Anyway, folks, there you go. 5,500 watt Generac generator. Picked it up for 150 bucks. I put a spark plug in it. I put some new oil in it. Then I put a new spark plug end on the spark plug wire. That's it. Drained the old gas, filled it up with new gas. Boom, boom, boom. We got fire. We got generator juice. Anyway, pretty pleased with how that turned out. I don't think I could have got any luckier. But apparently it does have a compression release so you can pull start this almost 400cc motor because it rolls over pretty easy and doesn't feel like you got a lot there. But then when she kicks, it kicks the choke off and she's off to the races, as you can see. Next time we have a winter storm around here, I'm going to plug this into my household grid, so to speak, and we'll keep the refrigerators and the freezers running, and I can also keep the heat in the house going because it just needs to be able to run that fan in the wintertime. This isn't enough generator to run an air conditioning unit, but it will run a heater in the house, which is just the fan. So I can juice up the house, keep everything else turned off because I can't draw too much on this, but it'll keep me going for a minute. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative and helpful. Don't be afraid to take a little bit of a risk on something like this. It does have a lot of hours on it. And it obviously doesn't consume any oil. Otherwise, the oil would have been like drained, empty. But what was in there was full, but black, but it was completely full. We're going to run this thing for a few hours over the next couple of weeks just to stretch its legs a little bit. We'll put some load on it, make sure she's going to run like I want it to. Then we'll fill the gas tank full of fuel. We'll mix it with a whole bunch of stable in there to stabilize it. And then we'll be ready for the next disaster, storm, or electrical power outage. What other kind of power outage is there? Non-electrical power outage? Yeah, whatever. All right, folks, this is Michael saying get out there and have some fun. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. And I'm out of here. Because I'm dying. Woo! Nice.